All right, guys. So this is going to be my freebie, my three setups that I trade. It's going to be pop and fail of pre-market high. I have a gap and extension, and I also have a gap and crap. You're going to be very familiar to these if you've been trading in most small cap rooms, but I have like a slightly different twist on that, and I'll dive deeper into that inside the community. So the first one is going to be the pop and fail of pre-market high. So this green arrow right here, this is going to be the pre-market high. How I personally trade it, I wait for this thing to pop above the pre-market high. Once it falls below, I slam the bid. And I risk just over this high of this candle. When it comes down to the 1 minute J line, which is this blue line, I cover half. Second that I cover half, I lower my stop to break even. Once it goes down to the 3 minute J lines, which is this yellow mark, I cover another half. I am supposed to be covering a half at the 5 minute J lines, but this thing is literally off by like less than 10 cents. So for me, I just left it alone and I covered the full position down here at the 200 on the 5 minutes. So that's how I typically trade my pop and fell of pre-market high. The next example is going to be Sarah. So this one, let me get rid of this. So on this one, once again, the blue line, pre-market high, pops over. I short right when it falls under. I'm risking this high. Curls back up, it almost stops me out. But once again, like I said, I don't actually set my stop to break even until my first target is hit. Like this, like where it comes down like this and starts curling, it's kind of a judgment call. It also depends on how much float does this thing have? How much volume is it pushing out? But typically how I should be trading this is this thing pops over, I short the bid, I'm risking the high. So I cover half at the 1 minute J lines, which is this blue line again. Cover another half at the 3 minute J lines, another half at the 5 minute J lines, and this thing stops me out. Now, what like when we get into the gapping extension, which is going to be the next setup that I talked about, this thing I like. If this would have happened earlier in the day, like around here, I would have I would have had another opportunity to trade this stock. I need this thing to pop out at either a $0.5 number, which it is popping up to, on much lower volume. And I typically want to have a daily level there that I can kind of risk off of. Like, why is this thing stopping at 247? Is there a daily level? Is there something I can judge off of? Is it a whole $0.5 number, which in this case is a $0.5 number? So if this would have happened earlier, I absolutely would have taken this trade. But because this is happening later on in the day, I don't like to trade right around here because it typically doesn't just pop up and just die and just fade. So for me, would leave that alone personally. But we'll get into the gap and extension ones with BDRX. So this thing pops up once again. Like I said, I short the pop and fell of pre-market high, which I feel like what most people do when they're going back. It's easier to look at stocks when it's hindsight. You could be like, oh, hey, I'm going to just short up here around the $2 level. But in all reality, you should be trading the same way every single day. So for me, if I was trading this, I would absolutely be looking for a pop and fail at pre-market high. That's my first setup. So I would be looking for this to pop and fail. I would short when it slams under. It doesn't hit my first target. Came back up. I got a loss. I took a loss on this trade. Um, but this thing pops up. This thing, like really, it just kind of depends on what it looks like. I can't tell you right now because I like I need to see the price action up here. But one thing I can tell you in hindsight is that I would absolutely take a short up here, especially after that slam down at the $2 level. The volume is much lower. So for me, I absolutely would have taken this trade. Now always risk just above the whole and half dollar numbers. So, and it's a little bit more of a wiggle room if it pops above the $2 level. What I'm personally looking for is if it does pop through, I don't want one of those BS like stop runs kind of pop and it falls right below. I want to see it pop and it's got to hold for like 5 seconds. If it does, I'm out. But if it just pops and goes right under, I'm not out. That's how I personally trade these things. This thing goes down, I cover half at the 1 minute J lines. And once again, once that happens, I lower my stop to break even. In the back in the day, I used to add, and like this looks like it would be a gap and extension add because I would draw on the fib level from the high of day to the bounce. And I want to see a 61 to 78 fib. This looks like it would actually fit that parameter. But for me, once I'm in, I just want to stay in. I don't want to add because for me this leads to me getting triggered. And this is me personally, which is why we're going to be diving into the stuff in my class. Because I don't know, maybe you're not that kind of guy that bothers. Then that is absolutely a valid trade. But everybody has their own emotions and what they need to deal with. For me, I'm not adding. This goes down. I'll cover another half of the 3 minute J lines, the 5 minute J lines, and then this thing doesn't fade to the final target. And so I cover right before the end of day because I don't, it's too risky. Like the volume dies off in after hours. Like, yeah, like back in the day, I used to make a lot of money off of after hours like offerings and stuff, but it's really not worth it. And the whole object for me personally, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, I don't want to be a slave to the market. So for me, how I personally trade, once I take my short up here, all right, like I cover half. I know where my stop is. It's break even. Like typically, I'm going to put it just a little bit above the 3 minute J lines because these things move around all the time. Like what this looks like at this time, like the 3 minute J lines could have been lower. Like it depends on how the stock trades. And so I put it like roughly where it is, maybe 5 cents above. That way I get filled, and then I just go about my day and do whatever I want to do. Because for me, I personally don't want to be at my desk all day long. But if you don't mind that, then you can trade it your own way. The other gap extension is going to be HNRA. Once again, I short the pop and fell. It didn't work. Came down. You would say that I would cut it here, but the difference is, like I said, it's right before a half-dollar number. I don't stop before a half-dollar number. So this thing popped up, it failed the half-dollar, and I took a loss. In hindsight, like I said, it's got to hold that level for 5 seconds, but I don't know. It's still trading with relatively high volume. It's over a million shares. I would probably cut this off and I would take a loss. But I would draw on a fib from the high of day to low of the bounce. I'm looking between a 61 and 78 fib. This I drew this in here. It has a stuffed candle, but at the same time, like I might have got in here. The same thing, it doesn't really matter where you get in. My stop is going to be the high of day. So I drew in here, cover half at the 1 minute J lines. At the same time, if I would have got in at the 61 fib, I would not have covered half at the 1 minute J lines because that's only 20, it's like 20 cents. I don't know. I might have covered half there. It depends on how much size you have also. So I would short here, cover half, cover another half. This thing pops up and stops me out. Once again, this thing has a chance for a another entry but the time of day, I don't like these late day pops. They generally don't fade. What I'm looking for is something that's grinding up all day long. It hasn't had a fade yet. That would be a late day fade, but I'm not going to go into that in this course. The gap and craps is going to be the BMRA. So this, I want to see a fail from pre-market high. I want to have a decent fade, at least 15%. And then what I'm looking for is a pop back up to the golden zone. If you don't have the golden zone, if you're not in J Trader's room, that's fine. All you gotta do is draw in a fib level from the top of the pre-market high to wherever the low of the bounce is. And what you're looking for is a 61 to 78 fib. The closer to the pre-market high, the more size you can use. Here, I get the 61 fib, I short, cover half, half, half. This thing curls back up, it stops me out. Like I said in the previous one, like this is, I don't know, it's too late in the day for me. I don't like this. If you want to trade this, like that's also your own thing. I'm not telling you how to do things. I'm going to tell you how I trade my style, but you gotta kind of find what fits your personality also. And so for me, this is not a trade. Now the last one I got is OMGA. Once again, this has a nice fell from pre-market high, pops into the golden zone. I did not draw on the fibs on this level, but um I would be short in the golden zone. I should have been covering half at the 1 minute J lines. That was a mistake on my part, an error. I cover half at the 3 minute J lines. I get stop break even. This thing curls. It has a blow off candle on lower volume. For me, that's a signal to get in. Plus, I'm risking 20 cents. This thing's up a lot. It's got a lot of range, and for me, this means a lot of money. And so I would short on the backside after the stuff candle. I'm not trying to top tick anything. I want to see it fell. Like I said, lower volume. Take the short. I'm risking the pre-market high. This falls down to the 1 minute J line to cover half. Stop goes to break even. I cover another half of the 3 minute, 5 minute, and this thing doesn't give me the fade that I'm looking for, but it's on a small piece. And so I cover the rest of it. Really, for me, how I look at it is I want to be trading with enough size that if I get in here and I cover at the 1 minute J lines, I made enough money that I'm going to be okay with it. Yeah, is it a home run? No, but like that's a base hit. It's for me, like that's what it's all about is finding something that you can be happy with. Like what is that size? But you also have to go into like how much how much risk are you willing to put on? Everybody's different. For me, I can take a lot of risk, and that's my personality. But everybody has their own personality, and so for me, I think that it is all about finding what works for you. And so that's exactly what I want to do in this course. And I want to help people find what works for them. So in this community, I want to be very transparent. I also want to help dive into your emotions. What is holding you back from making $5,000 a month? I feel like it's absolutely achievable when you are in enough trading rooms. It's crazy to me how many people fail at this. But like really, I feel like if you dive into who you are and you not only accept who you are, but you learn how to work with yourself, this is absolutely achievable. But I feel like most people don't want to put in the time and the effort it goes into diving into yourself and working on yourself. But I feel like it'll be much easier if you have a whole community backing you and helping you through things. And that's exactly what I'm going to create. And so these are my setups. You don't have to trade my setups. You can have your own setups. If you choose to do the mentoring program, then I need you to explain to me what your setups are, and we will get very, very detailed on what that means. And I'm gonna literally customize it to you personally. So, anyways, I hope to see you guys on the inside of the community. If you have any need for any extra help, please reach out to me. My DMs are open 24/7. So if you need any help, please feel free to reach out no matter what. All right, see you guys on the inside.